Friday night, 7:30, Clemson will travel up to Louisville to take on the Cardinals, the birds with teeth, whatever you want to call them. Clemson comes into this game, obviously 4-5 on the season. Louisville, much better. They're 7-2 on the season, right? They got a much better record. And this is going to be a tough game for the Tigers, Jordan. This is going to be a tall task. Jeff Brom is a heck of a football coach. He's a great offensive mind. And let's not forget last year, Louisville traveled down to Death Valley and put it on the Tigers, embarrassed them in their own stadium, blew them off the field, dominated them, both on the scoreboard and physically within the game. It was not close from jump. They're going to look to repeat that in their home stadium this Friday night, 7:30 kickoff. Jordan, your thoughts on this Louisville game? How you feeling heading into it? What do you think our Tigers are walking into on Friday night?
Yeah, this Louisville team is they're interesting in a lot of ways. This is a team that I think is pretty talented. Watching the film, I think they have quite a few number of future NFL players on it. This is a testament to what Jeff Brom is as a coach, as an evaluator. But I think they have a team that complements itself well. I don't think they're super elite, but I think they're just a good football team. They're extremely well coached. That defense, I think, honestly, has been the strength of this team this year. I think the offense has kind of taken a step back in some ways. Miller Moss certainly has not played up to maybe what a lot of people hoped, and now he's potentially dealing with an injury. Isaac Brown is likely not playing in this game at running back, which is obviously a major plus for the Tigers' chances. If you guys remember what he did to this Clemson defense last year, you're thanking your lucky stars. Obviously, you don't want anybody to be injured, but Clemson is catching a break this Friday night, not facing him. Watching them against Cal, I felt like it felt like they really should have won the football game, but it felt like they kind of got in their own way at times. It was kind of strange to watch, but it's Louisville. No matter who the coach is, and no matter how good of a season they have, it always seems like they're due for a game like that. And I think they didn't play their best football, and maybe they were looking ahead to 4-5 Clemson. Who knows? I still think this is a very good football team, a team that can absolutely beat you, and a team that could absolutely make things difficult like they did last season. This is a team that has a lot of, like I said, they have a lot of NFL talent. And I think you're facing a really tough challenge going up there to Louisville. It's an underrated environment in the ACC. That stadium and that fan base, they do pack it out, and they will pack it out for Clemson, even being 4-5. That will be a pretty raucous atmosphere. So kind of weathering that storm is going to be key for this team as they go on the road. And honestly, luckily for you, Clemson has been a better road team than home team for some reason this season. So maybe that's a positive heading into this football game.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's going to be a tough team heading up this Friday night. Jeff Brom's going to have the full attention of this Louisville team. Coming off that loss to Cal, heartbreaking loss, overtime. Cal drives down the field in overtime, scores a touchdown, goes for it, and they get it done. And it was a crazy ending to the game. Me and you were watching it, and I think I was like slightly ahead of you, and I was like, "Oh man." And you were like, I don't know what that means. And then you saw the play. But tough loss for Louisville. They really didn't need that. They really couldn't afford that loss. Not a good loss for them. So I think they're going to have, or Jeff Brown's going to have the full attention of his team. And I think they're going to be looking to repeat against the Tigers. I think that's going to motivate them a lot. That Tiger Paw still matters, particularly within the ACC. They very much are still seen as that major brand in the ACC, so that'll motivate them. They're also not completely out of the Atlantic Coast Conference hunt. They could still find themselves, in the mix for that ACC championship game. So it's a must-win for them from that standpoint. So when you think about that, there's no shortage of motivation for Louisville headed into this game. You mentioned they got some injuries. Obviously, their RB1 looks like it might not go. But again, that does not mean that Clemson is out of, deep water with this rushing game. This is a team that is going to run the football, and they particularly like to run it on the outside, right? They like to get, those zone sweeps and stuff like that. And Clemson is going to have to set that edge. They are going to have to be aggressive in the running game. And if they don't stop, particularly early in this game, if they don't stop Louisville's running game, it's going to be all bad for the Tigers on Friday night. I can assure you of that, because they're going to have the play actions that they come off of the running game and all the other stuff. Their offense really does start, with their running game. They're a good team on the ground. They're committed to the run, and if they can get it going against Clemson on Friday night, the rest of their offense will flourish as well, and it could become a long night for the Tigers. So, going to have to be really good at limiting them in the running game and not allowing them to get into their game plan and really do what they want to do. So tough game. I hate these Friday night games because crazy things always happen. It's always a wild game on Friday night. I don't know what about it is, spooky Friday nights, whatever you want to call it. But I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great game. And definitely going to be a challenge for the Tigers. So, Jordan, let's talk a little bit about the Clemson offense versus this Louisville defense. What does this defense bring to the table, and how are they going to challenge this Clemson Tigers offense, and what we're going to try to do coming into this game?
Yeah, the story of this Louisville defense is pressure, pressure, pressure. They are a team that is going to try and get after the quarterback. They do it at a very prolific rate, but I think they are well balanced because they are one of the better teams in all of college football in run defense. They're slightly behind Clemson, and they certainly get after it as well. This is a well coached defense. That this front seven has been one of the best in the ACC this season. Led by, honestly, one of the best defensive ends in the country in Clev Lubin. He's honestly putting up like an All-American type season right now. It hasn't really gotten a lot of national attention, compared to like some of the players, at A&M and Texas Tech and Reuben Bain at Miami. Like, I think he's playing as well as anybody right now. He is a monster, transferred in from Coastal Carolina. He's just fit in seamlessly into that defense, and this is I think that he's going to be an extremely big matchup nightmare for Clemson. It's going to be a test. It's going to be a test for your tackles, that's for sure, because he knows how to get after it. Very powerful, and he's been one of the best defensive ends in the country. So, really protecting Cade is going to be the biggest thing, because something tells me Clemson is not going to have a lot of success running the football in this game. I just flat out, I don't think they're going to be. I don't think they can run on this Louisville defense. I just don't. They have not. I have not seen Clemson establish the run against a defense like this at all this season. They've had some good rushing performances. They've been really up and down this year, but nothing like what they're going to see on Friday. So, it's good that good Cade is playing is showing up right now, because you're going to need good Cade on Friday, just flat out. I think that's the only way you're moving the football. You gotta stay ahead of the chains, and Cade's got to be accurate. Receivers got to go and make plays. This is not a Louisville defense that I think Clemson can run on.
Yeah, no, I don't. I would not expect Clemson's offense to have a ton of success running the football this Friday night. I think that goes without saying. One, we don't rush the ball particularly well to begin with, at least not consistently, and against a defense that defends the run as well as Louisville. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough sledding there. I like Adam Randall. I like Gideon Davison. I do think they could have, some mild success there. But again, that's all up to the offensive line. Hopefully, we can start the same 5 offensive linemen for 3 weeks in a row. That would be like I don't know, groundbreaking news at Clemson if you could accomplish that. It's worked out, pretty well. So if you can get a third game of the same 5 offensive linemen running out there, building that chemistry, getting a little bit better, maybe you have a little bit of success. But this game, make no mistakes, me predicated on Cade Klubnik and those wide receivers to get it done on offense. And it's going to start up front with the offensive line protecting Cade Klubnik. Obviously, he's not going to come into this game 100%. We saw him hobbling around the field on Saturday, and I don't care what Dabo Swinney says. I don't care, how they spin it. He is not going to be 100%. He is not going to be fully mobile. So the offensive line is going to have to step up and pass pro and give Cade some time there. And if Louisville's sitting there coming after Cade, Garrett Riley's going to have to be creative, and he's going to have to help Cade out and get the ball out of his hands quickly. Tunnel screens, screens to Adam Randall, screens to Gideon Davison, quick crossers with Antonio Williams and Tyler Brown and all those guys. So that's going to kind of have to be. You're going to have to use the quick passing game against this Louisville team as an extension of the run game, because you're not going to be able to line up and traditionally run the football like you need to, right? But in order to keep them honest, the quick passing game could substitute a lot of those traditional runs if you do it correctly, right? And then you can set up some shots down the field as well to TJ Moore, Tristan Smith, and those guys as well. So, Garrett Riley's going to have to come in here with a good plan and really execute it at a high level. And we're going to see. We're going to see if Cade Klubnik can stand in that pocket, make the right decisions, read this defense, and put Clemson in a position to win the game. But it's going to be a tough battle. Now, switching gears over to the defensive side of the ball for Clemson and Louisville offensively. Jordan, what can we expect from this Louisville offense? You mentioned the injuries and some of the challenges that they're going to have coming into the game. But what can we expect from this Louisville offense, and how does this Clemson defense stand up against them? We have not had the greatest of success on the back end, obviously. So what can this Clemson defense do to kind of limit what this Louisville offense is going to want to do, which is obviously run the football first?
Yeah, certainly a run-first football team. Isaac Brown has, been the bell cow this season, and obviously suffered an injury this past week. It does not look like he's going to be able to go again on Friday. So that's going to leave it in the largely the workload is going to be left in the hands of Kejuan Brown. Who I think is
not a bad thing for Louisville.
Which is not a bad thing for Louisville. I was about to say he is a very good back. He's not Isaac Brown, but he is very capable of gashing you. Averaging just under 7 yards a carry on the season, which is so that's slightly worse than Isaac Brown's 8 yards per carry. Listen, that's one thing that Louisville has just, for some reason, they just find backs out of nowhere. And keep in mind, they still have Duke Watson on the team. And, he's kind of been supplanted, as good as he was last season. Tells you how good of a running back room this team has. Miller Moss at quarterback. I think has been the most erratic part of this offense, which is kind of surprising just to say about a Jeff Brom quarterback. You always expect that Jeff Brom quarterbacks are going to be, they're not always going to be elite, but they're always going to be great game managers. They're always going to be efficient. They're always going to, be able to distribute the football. And I don't think Miller Moss has been bad this season, but he's had a couple of rough outings. he has not had the type of season that maybe a lot of people kind of hoped. In a year where his NFL draft stock was kind of on the line. So I think you gotta hope you get the lesser version of Miller Moss. I think he might be dealing with a little bit of an injury. I definitely think he'll play, but I don't think he's completely healthy either. The thing that scares me, beyond Louisville's running backs is I think Louisville honestly has one of the better wide receiver rooms in the conference.
Not good. Not good for the Tigers.
Not good for the Tigers. No. Chris Bell and Colin Lacey are the guys that get the volume of the targets. I think Chris Bell is a borderline first round receiver. I think he's awesome. For some people that said like when I talk to people about him, I'm like I don't see how he's not getting more love. Honestly, I would draft him in the first round. Someone said it's his 40 time, and I watch him on tape. He doesn't look slow to me. I mean, he's had some really, really nice bursts on tape. But this is an NFL draft show.
People get so wrapped up about these, these numbers on 40 times, and man, go watch the dude play football.
Yeah,
can he play football or not?
He's good, man. I would take him in the late first round. Definitely think he's at worst a second round pick.
Yeah.
And Louisville's wide receiver room also has a familiar face on there, and none other than Dakari Collins. He's made his way. He kind of made his rounds around the ACC. If you remember, he was at NC State after leaving Clemson, and now has found himself at Louisville. So he's there as well, and he caught a couple of passes against Cal this past week. I think this wide receiver room is pretty good, and they have a chance. They have plenty of guys that can, burn you if you're not sound on the back end, which many times, especially over the last few weeks, we have certainly seen this team not be sound on the back end. So again, this is at tight end, Jaleel Skinner is a guy that I think. He hasn't had the career that maybe a lot of people thought he would. Those of you that follow recruiting, that name probably sounds familiar. He was previously at Miami, really big profile tight end recruit. Has not quite had the career that a lot of people expected, but I still think he's a talented football player. With Louisville and with Jeff Brom, always expect his offenses to have something, pull something out the hat, something you haven't seen this season. I think they're going to have a game plan for Clemson, and they're going to do a lot of things that they probably haven't shown on tape, and you have to be prepared for it. You have to weather the storm, because I don't see any way Louisville doesn't hit some big plays on this defense just based off of what we've seen this year.
They will use their tight ends, unlike Clemson.
Yeah, they will use their tight ends. Yes,
I believe they will do that. But yeah, this offense, and they've been explosive this year too. They got quite a few explosive plays this year. So again, I know they're going to be missing RB1, and make no mistake, that affects them. Like it's a big loss for Louisville if he's not able to go, and even if he is, he's probably not going to be 100% or even close to that. But they got guys to roll in behind him. You mentioned Brown and Watson behind him. They can fill that role, I think, very easily. Not that he's not a big loss, but I don't think it will affect them. Maybe in the way that Clemson fans hope it will affect them. I think they will still be able to get the job done on the ground, and they're certainly going to try to do that. And you mentioned their wide receivers, Bell and Lacey. I mean, them dudes, they get it done. They got some speed, and they can exploit some of the issues that we've had on the back end of our defense. And I'm sure Jeff Brom has seen it on tape, and he's going to dial some things up. So, I mean, for the Clemson defense, obviously, like every game, no breaking news here. It starts up front, right? You're going to have to get after the quarterback. You're going to have to be disciplined in your rushing lanes. You're going to have to limit and set the edge so that they can't get outside and get on that edge, which is exactly what they want to do and break those big runs that they like to break. That's what they want to do, and that's what you have to prevent if you're Clemson, right? Those defensive ends are going to have a big night when it comes to setting that edge. And then linebackers, you're going to have to be there to clean it up, right? So, it's going to be a tough task for the defense, a defense that has not played great this season. They will be challenged in this game, and we'll see. We'll see if they can weather the storm. We'll see if they, have what it takes 2 weeks in a row. They did play pretty well for the most part last week. You only allowed 10 points, so you can't be too mad at that. I don't think there's a world where they hold Louisville to that kind of score total. But again, we will see.
Yeah, absolutely. Over under, how many cut blocks do we expect to see this go around?
The defensive line better. I don't know what you do. They always talk about prehab at Clemson instead of rehab. They better start prehabbing them knees on the defensive line. I can tell you that, because them getting cut on the back end, and them running backs, cutting back. I'm trying to tell you, it's going to happen. These defensive linemen are going to have some sore knees come Sunday morning, because they will be cut a lot in this game. A lot. That's just kind of what Louisville does, and part of it is to help in the running game, and then part of it is to slow down the pass rush as well, because you get cut a few good times, Jordan. You know this. The defensive line starts slowing down a little bit. They don't quite rush with the aggressiveness that they normally would, because they're worried about their knees being cut from under them. So it's really going to be a challenge for Clemson, and they're going to have to play with the right technique so that they don't get cut as effectively as Louisville is going to try.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a test, man. Louisville's not going to play like they did against Cal against you.
No, they're not. Honestly, for Clemson heading into this game, them losing to Cal was probably the worst thing that could have happened for you. You would have preferred, just as a Clemson fan, you would have preferred Cal to not convert that in overtime and beat Louisville, because now they're going to be, extremely focused and extremely motivated. Not that they weren't already, because of who you are in Clemson, and they want to beat you, and they're competing to get to the ACC championship game. But they're going to be, I think that's going to be ramped up a level this week because of the loss last week. Not only the loss, but how they lost in kind of heartbreaking fashion there in overtime. So not great that they dropped the game right before they play you. Not great, in my opinion, that it's on a Friday night. And not great because of some of the matchups in this game for the Clemson Tigers. So, Jordan, with that said, score prediction time for the Clemson-Louisville game this Friday night, 7:30 p.m. kickoff. We will be live streaming it on the members-only portion of the channel. So it's time to give our score prediction, Jordan. What are you thinking about the Clemson-Louisville game this Friday night? Who you got, and what's the score? Oh, let me remind you, Louisville is now, I think, let me confirm. Louisville is now a 2.5-point favorite. They were 3.5, I think. It's now down to 2.5. Over under was 51.5. It is now down to 49.5. So that's where we currently sit according to ESPN.
Yeah, this is a matchup in a lot of ways. I think both sides of the ball present a lot of challenges for Clemson. As it is many times this week, it's about what Clemson team shows up. I mean, and also what Louisville team shows up, but on the Clemson side of things, I mean, obviously you've been the far more erratic team, far more variance in performance, and I don't know. I said, this team is better on the road, but they've also haven't played a team. I mean, since Georgia Tech, that's as good as Louisville is on the road. So until they pass a test like this, I can't pick them to win a game like this. Last week was great getting a win over the rival in Florida State, but Louisville, I think, is a far more functional team that absolutely will not kill itself in the ways that Florida State did. And I think this matchup is it's a little too dicey. I think it'll be a close football game. This team is still talented. I think they'll compete. But honestly, I think it just flat out think this is a team that's better than you right now. And they're playing, over the course of the season, they've played better than you. And I don't think that changes on Friday night. Unfortunately, I got to be optimistic last week. It's time for me to be back on the negative train. I don't think Clemson wins this football game. I think there's too many matchup questions that I have, even with Isaac Brown not playing, that I can't trust. That I can't trust them in a road environment on a short turnaround to win a game of this magnitude. I think Louisville wins the game. I think it's going to be defensive. I don't think there's going to be a ton of points in this football game, but I think it'll be tight. I think Louisville wins 24, Clemson 20. We'll go with that. I think like I said, I think it's going to be a close football game, but I think Louisville's just the better team.
Yeah. You said 24-20?
Yeah. Louisville.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things in this matchup that's not really geared towards success for the Tigers, right? I think our what I anticipate our lack of ability to run the football on Friday night, I think that's going to be a problem for the offense, and I think they're going to struggle to move the ball at times. I think they're going to have way too many 3-and-outs. Defensively, can you limit their run game? I know Clemson's been, you mentioned the stats, they've been pretty good, but this is a team that's going to challenge you in a way that you haven't been challenged in quite some time, running the football. And they got guys that can roll in there, even with their RB1 out. They got guys that can roll in there. They'll do a lot off of play action, the backside cuts, and all the stuff that they're going to do to you up front, and their receiving core. So, and the other thing for me is Cade Klubnik in this game. That's a pivotal thing, and I don't know that I trust his health enough. I just don't know, like with your inability to run the football, and if you cannot run the ball at all, and Cade's just back there dropping back every single play, and they're able to kind of pin their ears back and come after him, I don't think that spells success for Clemson Tigers offense. I think that's going to be a very difficult thing to overcome. Could they overcome it by the quick pass game and things like that? Theoretically, yes. I just don't trust Garrett Riley to call a good enough game to do it. And I don't know if Cade Klubnik is going to be healthy enough, or the offensive line is going to be able to produce at a high enough level in order for them to be successful without the running game this week. So for that reason, I'm rolling with Louisville as well. I kind of made my decision on this game early on. I thought this was a game that Clemson would probably lose in the offseason, even when we were thinking Clemson was the highest of the highs and going to compete for the playoffs and possibly a national championship. Even with that, I thought this was a game that Clemson could definitely lose and probably would lose. I have not changed my mind. This team has not given I think Clemson fans any reason to change their mind against playing a team like Louisville in their stadium on a Friday night and getting the win. I just don't think it happens. So for that reason, I'm going Louisville 24, Clemson 17.
All right, we are in lockstep in the wrong direction. Well, I don't want to say maybe not the wrong direction, but the direction we don't want. But yeah, I mean, this is a matchup. You and I both just kind of felt iffy about heading into the season, and with how things have played out, I have no reason to think it's going to be better. Clemson wins this. Listen, Clemson wins this football game if the good version of Cade Klubnik shows up. I don't think there's any scenario where Cade plays average or worse and you win this game. You absolutely need good Cade to win, and I think he's going to have to make some plays.
Yeah, he's going to have to be great on Friday to win this game. He's going to have to be elite. He's going to have to be that Cade Klubnik that's getting the ball out quickly, making his reads, being very confident out there, picking his spots. When to escape the pocket and not just bailing out of the pocket. Like he's going to have to play a great game on Friday to beat this Louisville team. And I just don't know if that's going to happen. And Garrett Riley's going to have to help him out. And I'm definitely unsure if that's going to happen. I don't trust him at all in order to call a correct game to put Clemson in the best chance to win this game. I'm just not. I can't pick them. I can't pick them to win this game. I hope they do. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Clemson goes in there and shocks Louisville and frankly blows them out. But I just don't see that happening.
No, unfortunately, this team is in show us mode.
Absolutely, and they will be for the rest of the season.
Yeah.